Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. As an evolving spirit and change adventure navigator, it is Kate's mission to empower and guide you on your path and inspire your truest passions. She will encourage you to share your gifts, speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace and her own soulfire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soulfire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom and Tips, Tricks, and Triumphs Tuesday. So, I don't even know what to say about this week. I think everybody's had a pretty tough week. And I know that a lot of people are really kind of freaking out and stressing out and don't know really how to stop doing that because, well, you know, things just keep going on. But there really are some things that you can do to kind of bring yourself back down to a less stressed state. And so I'm going to just give you a few tips when you're feeling really, you know, like, oh, I can't believe this is happening, and you're just feeling yourself getting worked up. Take a deep breath. Count to 3. Smile. And feel yourself sink into your body. And keep smiling. Because I think you'll find that it's kind of hard to feel stressed, feel bad while you're smiling. So just keep that smile going as long as you can. And we have a great show planned for today. My guests, Michael Oden and Alina Ugas, they're the founders of Final Step International. And I actually met them in 2016 at the Personal Development Symposium, which was held at the Harvard Faculty Club, where we were all speakers, and Michael and Alina were actually at my table. And so I got Michael's book at that time, When Nobody's Home. And then I had him on my Embrace Change show, talking about drug and alcohol recovery. And this is the first time, actually, though, that I've had Michael and Alina together. So I'm really happy to have them here. And they're going to tell us a little bit more about what they're doing and actually what they've been doing adapting to COVID-19. So hi, Michael. Hi, Alina. How are you?
Hi, Kate. Doing well. Thank you for having us.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Yes. So to start out with, could you both just, I gave a very, you know, not very detailed outline there of what you do. And so could you both just fill in the details a little bit and tell us a little more?
So right now, and actually we've been doing this since 2017, we have been working with law enforcement agencies in training their officers and also the management staff And we have what they call certificates. So we have 3 certificates with the state of California. So we're certified with the state of California. It's learning and thinking style, the why to drug abuse and use, and then the other one is wellness and addiction for the law enforcement officers. I have co-authored a book with Ona Brown and 20 other authors. The book is called Own Your Dreams, and Les Brown did the foreword. So I had like an amazing year, and then we did the book launch and things like that. So our book was launched just recently, and I'll show you the cover later. But it talks about when I didn't even know that I had trauma. And so in the process of writing the book, that's when I realized, I started writing the book to let people know about our 7-step system to wellness, to emotional wellness. And as I was walking, myself through the book, I realized that I myself had some underlying trauma that I had not worked on for 47 years. And that was crazy. That was when I left Cuba. At the age of 8, my mom didn't tell us we were leaving Cuba. So she said we were just going on a train ride. So I'd never had a chance to, find closure with any of my friends, family members, my toys, nothing. So I didn't think that really had impacted me until I started writing the book. Then it was an amazing eye-opening experience. I actually didn't speak to my editor for 2 weeks because I was so mad at him. And yeah, so it was an amazing journey.
Yes. So what was the initial inspiration for your business?
Well, I call it a serendipitous discovery.
Okay.
Where I am working on myself and behavior and why people behave, think, and feel the way they do in situations. And as I was learning more about myself, I came across certain individuals who caught my attention. And one of the gentlemen, whose name is Mr. I gotta forget his name, but he came up with the word of these needs. I forget his name, but he came up with these needs.
Maslow?
No. Well, that is the diagram that the Maslow's path of needs. But we're talking about
somebody else wrote the book you're thinking.
Right. So I'm gonna go simple. We're gonna say regular needs that people try to acquire on a daily basis. A need for connection, a need for validation, a need for, okay. So I had a whole list of these needs, and I decided to use them on clients. And what needs weren't you getting, and from whom? And from there, and these were people who happen to have drug and alcohol issues. And so 95% of the issues were fatherless individuals. And therefore I said, wow, so these were the needs that were never met, and you coped with the pain by using alcohol and drugs for an excessive period of time. I said, okay, so I did that for years, and about 65 to 7,000 of these individuals. That's where the book came from, When Nobody's Home. And so our whole goal is to make sense of your chaos so you can become a better you, in a nutshell.
Yes, when I first met you, it seemed like you were working more with individuals, and I see you've moved more to working with businesses.
Yes.
And I found that fascinating. From my own background, before I did all this, I did consulting with businesses. And one of the things that I discovered that kind of led me to doing what I do now is that a lot of the entrepreneurs that I worked with had, personal issues that were in the way, that were keeping them from being successful.
Right.
So it's interesting that you guys work with that.
Yeah. We get you to make sense of it so you can empower it. And you'd be surprised. There's a statistic that says this: if 96% of the families in America have experienced some form of trauma or dysfunction.
Yes.
right? Something along the lines. It can be severe, whatever the case may be. And so you look out the window, you look at a football stadium, you look at, it's like, wow, a lot of hurt people out there are going through life with the scars that allow them to not become the best them.
Yeah, and then also, Kate, we started working with a business, and it was a family-owned business, and the dad was the father, the husband and wife, and 2 kids. And the dad went without speaking to the son and would not speak to the grandbaby that was 18 months. Well, at the time, our grandbaby was like 3 years old or something like that. And I said to Michael, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, how could he do that? I mean, the baby had nothing to do with it. And so that was really where we decided we're going to start helping family-owned businesses. I couldn't wrap that around my head. I absolutely love, I have 3 grandsons that are my life, you know, and so I couldn't understand anybody not wanting to speak to their grandbaby because they're mad at the parent. So so we started working with
and also it's so many people have trauma because, you know, what's trauma to one person isn't necessarily trauma to somebody else.
Exactly. We talk about that too. Yes. Perception.
So, yeah. So what are the goals of your business, of Final Step?
Well, right now we're really opening our doors to first responders, firefighters, nurses, doctors. We're offering them a free consultation. You know, I was in the medical field for years, and I absolutely know what they're going through because of COVID. And to me, that's really where my heart is. So that's the biggest thing that we're doing right now. And then also, you know, growing instead of just one state as far as the training for law enforcement officers, we want to do it nationwide. So, and writing, we're in the process of writing actually 3 books. I'm writing one on Cuban recipes, and then the other one is on businesses, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Michael's writing another one on.
Well, I'm doing a 2nd edition. The one you read, I'm adding to it from what I've learned, adding more stories, and yeah, I really am. So I said, okay, let's add to this and make it even more sense so people can understand it.
Yes, I didn't know you were from Cuba.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's from Cuba.
Well, that was one of the things that never came up. Yes. Surprisingly, but tell me a little bit more about your book, about your chapter in the book. What was the trauma that you you know, told about in the
originally yeah, thank you. So originally I started the book wanting to write about, you know, I was raised with an alcoholic father. And that's one of the things that got us to really start Final Step International. And that was my passion at the beginning, because I could never understand why, if you love somebody, you know, you love your family, why is it that you can't stop drinking? And, you know, I spent a lot of money with my dad, sending him to all kinds of chic centers, you know, back in the days and everything. The minute we would pick him up, he would get drunk again. So that was what I thought was what my chapter was going to be about. And then the other thing, what was traumatic to me, which was very on the surface, was that my sister was born 5 years after I was. So I thought that was my traumatic experience. I never realized what the problem was. And even though, you know, now I love her to pieces, I could remember the day when my mom brought her from the hospital. I told her, okay, I'm done looking at her, take her back.
Really? That is so funny. I also, yes. I also had an alcoholic father. And I have a sister 6 years younger than me. And I really wanted a sister, you know. I thought it was going to be like a playmate.
Yeah.
And then they brought her home from the hospital, and she was just like this crying baby. And I said that to them too. I said, can we take her back? All she does is cry. And they, for some reason, they just wouldn't do it. I got used to her, and
yeah, that's the same with me. But it's funny. So that was like my youngest memory that I had. So I just assumed that that was my trauma until, you know, I started writing the book. And for some reason, because it was something very deep and something that was so painful, I didn't believe that leaving Cuba could have made that, you know, impact. But no, it was very hard. Yeah.
Yeah, with if they don't tell you where you're going or what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. So what is your big plan for Final Step? What do you want to do going forward?
I would like to expand the business through training, workshops, lecture. There are, what is that? The information that we can give people to change and shift the belief system.
Yes,
definitely. You know, boy, when we had a taste of the college kids and we spoke in front of them, but they were hungry for that. Somebody finally made sense of this angst they were having.
This is the time now when they're talking about you know, the defunding the police, and what they really mean is retraining and refocusing, right. And that all has to be defined.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
One of the things I see they're missing is this: is you can tell them they have an intrinsic bias, because we all do. The question is, what does that person mean who looks different from you?
And how do you deal with them?
Exactly. Exactly, that's what happens. But they go out there and they see the person of brown hue, and all of a sudden their mind starts racing, and therefore I'm going to treat
and all those beliefs, true and false, and they try to make sense of it, and it
yes, and we've seen it on TV and etc. and whatnot. But you know, one of our goals is to get the people to understand that. I think they're missing that component. What do these people mean to you? You know, because we put them on a different level. You know, they're different from us. So we, you know, and the perfect example is what we saw the insurrection is, because they look the same as us. Guess what? We're a little lighter.
Well, yeah, there was a difference in.
So,
and then also to train as many people as we possibly can. I mean, we originally, when we started our business, there were 12,000 people who were at the time seeking mental health. Now there's 24, and that was last year. So I haven't had way more than that, you know. So it's like there's so many people out there that need what we have to offer, and that's really our goal.
It's been a surreal year in so many ways, and all of it has created stress and trauma for a lot of people. And I think we were already, you know, sort of on the verge of not being able to really deal with all the mental health issues and that people have to deal with in their normal lives these days, with things changing so quickly. And
there's family members, you can't say goodbye to them, and just the inability to connect. You know, that's a human condition. We got to connect, and we're stuck in these homes.
And there's, you know, like my sister told me, people actually feel a lot of hostility over, like, being on different sides of the political spectrum and, you know, having to talk to each other. She says she doesn't even have to say anything political, and her son, who believes differently than her, she can just feel his hostility.
Wow.
And
yeah.
that's a stress, that he's obviously stressed, and that makes her feel stressed because she doesn't know what to do with that.
Exactly. So, you know, we've been doing a lot of webinars. You know, we put it out on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and we're really just trying to contribute as much as we can, giving as much information as possibly, you know, helpful, that could help somebody. And, you know, it's just, it doesn't seem like it's really making a huge difference, you know, but it's exactly what you said. There's so many people out there that are just looking for an answer. And, you know,
you might not be able to answer the questions behind things, but you can tell people how to deal with those feelings.
Right. That's exactly what we're doing.
So, you guys come from you come together from different backgrounds and skill sets. You both have strengths and weaknesses that you bring to the business. And I've seen you doing some different Facebook live talks on relationships and different things. What strengths and weaknesses do you both bring to your business?
I would say, as far as my strength, is the fact that I'm an entrepreneur. I would consider myself a serial entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurship. And my biggest weakness, which we were just talking about last night, is the fact that I care so much, and then also, I want everybody to be super fair with one another. And when I don't see that, Michael says, oh yes, rainbows and waterfalls. But for some reason, you know, it's something that's been instilled in me since I was little. And so when I see that people are so unfair to one another, that just really, sometimes it's a huge down for me.
I totally get that. I feel that way too. It's hard for me to see people being, you know, not nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and what about you, Victor?
Well, we're going to go personal strengths are that I'm kind of outgoing. I'm working on that more, you know, and I love to teach. So I love to teach, and I love to share information to see people do differently than what they've been doing. And I would say I'm empathetic and passionate about what I do. You know, and now the weakness is this: I may care too much.
Yeah. And
you got to be careful with that, and learn how to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And not having a format to follow. As opposed, sometimes you go off you have what is that? Almost a sidebar or a tangent. You go whoop, bring it back in. Because I can do that. So, you know, you need to be aware of these weaknesses so you can make the adjustments so they don't overwhelm you or, you know, put you down a rabbit hole where you don't want to go. That can affect the business and the client.
So why is it so important to you guys to work with trauma and healing trauma?
Well, I realize actually from my own experience that unless you don't deal with the trauma and understand it and heal it, you really don't know why is it that you've been doing what you have been doing. Because I didn't realize, I didn't realize there was anything wrong with me. I thought I was perfect. Right? And then,
you just thought you dealt with everything.
Yeah, and then all these answers just starting to appear. And what I'm saying now is I believed I used to be happy, but now I have inner joy. you know. And so now it's like one of those selfish things. I want everybody to be like me, you know. I want everybody to realize if they do have trauma, that, like you said, trauma doesn't have to be something, you know, huge. It just, depending on how you interpret it, you know. And from healing my trauma, Kate, I even went skydiving, which I'm the biggest chicken you've ever met. I wouldn't even ride a roller coaster, you know. So it's just, I felt so freeing.
Whether you know it or not, those little traumas that you have, they do manifest themselves in different ways. You might not even know that, you know.
Yeah. And that's what I discovered, you know, which is why I wrote the book. When I was working with the clients with the drug and alcohol affliction, and they understood the trauma which propelled them to use the drugs, they shifted. I said, hold on, if we can do that with these guys, then what else is going out into the world that people can change if they know what they're changing, if they have some awareness, understanding about, well, so why do you do that? Why do you pick that person? I mean, a couple that I worked with where, well, why'd you pick him? Because I loved him. I said, what does that look like? Then I feel like, who does he remind you of?
Right. And I'm sure you know this because you're the expert in that field, but if drug and alcohol people, if they don't deal with those past traumas, they often manifest themselves as shame because they're hiding those feelings.
Yeah, the shame cycle. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's so when we do our speeches and we give our lectures and we see people change and ask questions, to me that's giving them hope that they can have a different life than the one they're going down already. It can be better or different, whatever that looks like to them, so they can, you know, enjoy their potential, possibly, you know, and live the life they want to live, you know. So that's what drives me. It's just, if they know the answer, then we got a shot.
Yeah. And you know how it feels. I mean, Elena just discovered it. It's when you discover those aha moments, it's like a weight has.
Yeah, and I wasn't having so many of them. Man. And Michael kept asking me, write them down, but I wasn't writing them down. So then at one point, you know, we were talking about it, like, how many did I have?
Nobody listens to me.
Right. It must have been over 14. And it just kept developing, and just, you know, things just kept surfacing and happening. Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
It's equivalent to bubbles rising to the top of the ocean and going poof.
Yes,
that's what I liken it to, you know.
Good analogy.
Yeah.
So, are there any specific methods, or how do you like to work with people?
Well, I'm a hypnotherapist, and I absolutely love hypnotherapy. I really do believe that I found my niche. Absolutely love it. As a matter of fact, we were doing a training, and I asked a group of 64 sheriffs if I could hypnotize them. Some of them said yes, and some of them, but I had majority of the room hypnotized. I love it, love it, love it.
And I have developed the needs-based method from the needs, right? And getting people to understand the 7 steps of that, understanding awareness and acceptance and value shift all the way up to transformation. And what I see is that when you go through the steps and take situations apart and make sense of it, then we can put it aside and go to the next phase or part of their life that still hasn't made sense to them. And it's like putting together a puzzle. And I like to call it, when I'm working with a client, I go like this: we're painting a portrait together, but you're guiding me. So the more you tell me, you know, the more truthful you are, the better we can have a clearer picture that we can look at and change and make it the way you would like. And I feel that goes a long way as opposed to diagnosing somebody.
Yes, and a lot of times people that have experienced a lot of trauma, they don't really see or know who they are.
Oh,
so
yes.
It's kind of like they're meeting themselves for the first time.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
It is. Yeah. And it's called healing the little boy or girl.
Yes.
Yeah. It's finding out where it started and making sure, letting them know that it's okay to heal, so the adult or age appropriate behavior can start showing up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Elena, if we would have known this way back when we were trying to understand what was going on with our dads.
Oh my goodness. It was huge. I used to work mental health, when I was going through all this with my dad. And I remember one of the social workers telling me, you're going to understand this when you're in your 40s. And at the time I was like 22. And I kept thinking, oh gosh, well, first of all, I'm never going to be that old. And then second of all, why would it make more sense then than what it does now? And I have to tell you, Kate, it was the absolute truth. Absolute truth.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I just wish, he would be alive.
Yes.
So I would be able to express it to him, because he was, like Michael would say, a very damaged soul. I mean, he became an orphan at the age of 14, so then when I started really looking into his life and his history, yeah, it made perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you both that's kind of unrelated, but I've been asking all of my guests recently, so I'm going to ask both of you. So what has surprised you most about life?
About life.
Yes. To this point.
Yeah, I would say that the way you raise your kids doesn't necessarily mean the outcome that you're going to have when they're older. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I know my mom and I used to talk about this all the time. You could give them the best upbringing in the world. I mean, everything by textbook. And when they become adults, that doesn't, yeah, that's it. What you taught them is completely, literally goes out the window.
Well, like not totally, but that can happen. Either way, like you can be the worst parent in the world and they can turn out to be a terrific person, or you can do everything right and they can decide to go another direction.
Yeah. Like Michael's mom says, you could raise them, but you can't
make them your own, or make them do what you want.
That's it. You could raise them, but you can't make them do what you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What was that question again? Because my brain.
Okay. It's what has surprised you most about life so far? So far?
Whew. Let's see. What's about life, man? That there people are unpredictable, and you think or believe that everything's the majority is going in a certain direction, and all of a sudden it does this boom, this paradigm shift over here, and you're like, where'd that come from? And so assuming people believe and that people have the same beliefs, or people believe in a certain whatever that is they have that gets them through life, may be totally opposite or different from yours, and we just need to be cognizant of that. Just know that it's there, even though we don't see it, and maybe not take things for granted of how people see the world, And so yeah, it's just whoo. And I believe this election thing really showed me that. It's like, my God, there's half here and half there. My belief was, I thought we were doing a pretty good job getting together, but and so it hurt. It hurt me to see where we are.
Yeah, that I'll have to agree with you on that. I was really surprised to see that we had made so little progress, because I thought we were doing better than we.
Like, what? Yeah. So, yeah. But the thing about that exposure, now we know where we are.
Yeah.
So now we start here and we go forward. So that's how I look at it. We see you got to go through the muck to get to the light. So we're in the muck now.
When I was a little girl, or I don't know, about 11, 12, we lived in a kind of working class neighborhood, and a Black family moved in kitty corner behind us. And it was, you know, oh, our property values are going to go down. You know, nobody understood why these people wanted to live here. They were the nicest people. I babysat their daughter, and they were the only people in the neighborhood that were college educated. There were people that had their own businesses, but nobody that had gone to college. And they had all these books, and I loved talking to them.
Wow.
But they only stayed a couple years. And when they were moving, I was really disappointed. And I said to the husband, you know, why are you guys moving? And he said, well, my wife is lonely because, well, the neighbors had never included her. And when our friends try to come over, the neighbors act like they're trying to steal their cars. And I, you know, looked at him and said, yeah. But I said, but if you stay, they'll change. And he said, I know they will, but I can't wait that long.
Wow.
And I was really disappointed. But when he said that, I never imagined that that long was this long.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, in my mind, I imagined that other people had progressed a lot farther than they apparently have.
That's the wish. Boy, I would love that for that to have happened, you know. And to piggyback off your story, we were the first people of color in our county ever. And there were school districts that bought us out that said we didn't want them to come, so we'll pay you to take them. And this was in '68, so in the late '60s, early '70s. So yeah, it's whew,
Yeah,
deep stuff. And I consider myself a pretty nice guy.
yeah. Yeah, well, as I said, those people, I just love them, you know.
Yeah,
they were
good people. Doesn't matter
yes.
color, good people, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, that darn hue makes a difference. So yeah, we'll work on that.
So if you could, we're almost out of time. So if you could leave the listeners with one thought from today's show, what would you want that to be?
I would say to look deep inside themselves. And if they believe that there is something that has been bothering them, or like Michael says, you know, picking partners that do not benefit you or enrich your life, then it's time for a shift.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, to be brave, to look within, to find out what stops you from being the best of you.
Yeah.
Just look in.
Yes.
Because that's the journey you're going to need to take. We'll call it the hero's journey.
Definitely. Yes. Good advice. So if people wanted to find out more about what you do or get in touch for any reason,
well, we're all over. Yeah, we're all over social media. Final Step International is our website.com. And then, you know, on LinkedIn, we're both on LinkedIn, Alina Ugas, Michael Oden, Final Step International, Instagram, Final Step Int. They could DM us or send us an email. You know, we would love to be able to help them, and especially if they know of any frontline workers who are suffering from trauma, anxiety due to COVID. Please give them our information, because we would love to be able to assist them with this.
Great. Well, thank you. I'm so glad that you were able to be here today. And yes. I'm really glad you're doing what you're doing, because it's definitely needed.
And thank you, Kate. And also thank you for
Yes.
doing what you're doing, because you're putting it out there.
Yes.
So we appreciate you.
Yes, you're the messenger.
Yes.
Well, yes, and I also work with trauma, but you guys are, I think the training programs are really what is needed for this time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're willing to help.
Yeah.
So I guess I started out talking about dealing with the way people are feeling this week. And I guess I'll just end up by saying, just try to be mindful. We have a great show planned for next week. Next week, my guest will be Celine, and I'm not even going to attempt to say her last name because I know that I'm not going to get it right. But she is the founder of Dances with Food. And she has developed, she's a health and lifestyle coach. And she has developed a program to help people with those issues around food and weight loss. And, you know, this is the time of year when a lot of people seem to be dealing with that. So be sure to tune in next week, and I will get Celine's name right by then. So tune in and find out who she is.
Absolutely. That's wonderful.
So I'm just going to say bye for now. Thank you again, Michael and Elena.
Thank you,
Kate, for having us.
Yeah, and be good. Yeah, and be good to each other, people.
To Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brighten your day, or spark a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic of transformation that is the journey to Soulfire Wisdom. Always remember, be fierce in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.